welcome. I'm Nira Berry, life and happiness coach and your host of Happy and Healthy, where we explore and discover all the many ways of keeping you happy and healthy. And don't forget to stay tuned to the end to my Good to Know segment, where I've always got something good to share with you. So today I have something really interesting. I have a really interesting guest, director of Great and Small. I want you to welcome my guest, Rachel Neff. So please welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. And so Great and Small is a very interesting concept. It's actually for therapeutic riding. Is that what it is?
Yes. Yeah. So we use horses to help people with special needs. In a whole variety of special needs and a whole variety of activities that we can do with horses.
That's so interesting. And so who are the people that come in to utilize this?
So anybody with a special need can come to Great and Small. So if for whatever reason riding at a regular barn doesn't work out, we are there to help people. We specialize in adapting to whatever their abilities are. Probably 2/3 of our participants have an autism spectrum diagnosis. So that's the majority of what we see, but we see individuals with traumatic brain injury, cerebral palsy, ADHD and executive function type issues, people with emotional regulation challenges, a whole variety of things.
And I know that there's a difference between therapeutic riding and also adaptive riding.
Yeah, those two terms get used fairly interchangeably. So in adaptive riding or therapeutic riding, it is an educational, recreational model. So the instructor is a certified therapeutic riding instructor. They've been trained to teach horseback riding and to adapt their teaching to the needs of the learner, but they are not a medical professional. We also offer equine-facilitated psychotherapy, which is done with a licensed mental health professional, like a licensed professional counselor or a social worker. So in that case, they are doing therapy, working on the client's mental health goals, using the horse as part of that treatment.
Interesting.
So there are different ways that we can come at it for different needs.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So what brought you into this whole field? What inspired you?
So I started out volunteering at a therapeutic riding program when I was in high school. I grew up outside of Indianapolis. So I started out mucking stalls in the barn, and then I started helping in the program, and then they hired me to do some horse care, and it just kind of grew from there. So I was originally hired at Great and Small as the barn manager almost 9 years ago. And I was the only full-time employee, and someone had to answer the phones, and it kind of grew from there.
That's the way we're working your way up to the top, and
Yes.
all the way to the top of the horses. Mm-hmm. What is the name Great and Small? Does it have any significance?
So Great and Small, All Creatures Great and Small, was the name of a James Herriot novel. He wrote a whole series of novels about his life as a country veterinarian in rural England. And that's where the name comes from.
Oh, I see. So why utilize horses?
So horses do a whole variety of things for people. When you sit on a horse, your pelvis is moving through the same motion as if you were walking, ambulating normally.
Oh, really? Oh, I never knew that.
So it's the only animal that we can sit on and that does that for people. So when you're sitting on the horse, you're getting you're using the same neural pathways. Your brain is having the experience of walking. You're strengthening the same muscles that you would use to walk. So when, for example, someone with cerebral palsy comes and rides, they have just strengthened the muscles that help them walk more effectively when they leave. So we have a client who actually, that's why he comes to us to ride, and he's been riding for a long time, but you can see a difference between before he gets on the horse and then after he's ridden for 30 minutes in terms of how well he can walk.
Wow.
How loose his muscles are and how easily he moves through space.
And do they ride like with somebody like holding the horse and kind of leading them, or do any of them just ride on their own?
We have all of the above. So at the most independent, we have people who come, get their horse ready for the lesson all by themselves, ride in the lesson all by themselves, maybe ride in a small group together, in a situation that looks very much like what you'd see at a typical riding stable. Mm-hmm. And then we run the spectrum from that to a lot of hands-on need, where there'd be somebody leading the horse and 2 volunteers, one on each side, to provide physical support or cognitive reinforcement. and everything in between. So our goal is always as much independence as is safe and encouraging.
Wow. So that is, I can see it's not just the physical benefits, but all the emotional benefits as well. That
Absolutely.
self-confidence.
Yes, that experience of getting up on this 1,200-pound animal
Yeah.
and telling it what to do and having that work out for someone who doesn't speak, establishing a relationship that's not based on verbal communication, because the horse doesn't talk either, that can be really empowering, that I can communicate with someone else in a way that both of us understand and are able.
Yeah. And so how many horses do you have there? And do you have any other animals?
So in our adaptive riding, therapeutic riding program, we have 9 horses in our program right now, with 1 on trial. And 9 or 10 is a pretty comfortable number for us right now. We also have some feral barn cats that keep down the rodent population, but we don't have any other animals used in our program.
I see. And as far as the horses, how do you select the horses that work, that really, end up being with the riders?
Yeah, so our horses come to us as donations or on lease from their owners. They're usually older, they've had a career, they've been out and seen the world a bit, and often this is a 2nd or 3rd or 4th career for the horse.
Oh, okay.
So usually the owner contacts us and is looking for a semi-retirement sort of situation. So we go and see them, and if it seems like it's going to work out, we're really looking at personality above all else, because what we ask horses to do in our program is pretty counter to what nature tells horses to do. They are herd animals, they're prey animals, so in the wild, they stick together and they like to always have an escape path. If something goes bad, they're going to run away.
Yeah.
And we're looking for horses who are going to, if something goes weird, stand still and think. Often with someone on each side and someone at their head. So we've taken away the escape routes, and we're asking them to just hang in there. And there are a remarkable number of horses that are willing to do that have decided that they trust people, and the people are going to take care of it, and we're going to hang in here. But that personality and that willingness to be interested in something that's new rather than being terrified and wanting to leave town is really what we're looking for.
And it's so nice that you're giving these horses the ability to have another career, or not just a career, but another life, because often if people don't can't handle take care of their own horses any longer, this gives them an opportunity.
Yeah, it gives them a way to be a contributing member of society.
Yeah.
They get to do something good that works out for them also. So yeah, it really is a win-win for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how long is the training process with these horses?
So most horses come to us on a 90-day trial, which gives us time to evaluate where their training is just from life experience, and then introduce them to the things that we're going to do that they will never have seen before. So for example, we have a mounting ramp so that if someone can't navigate stairs, they can take their walker or their wheelchair around. So a horse is never going to have seen a mounting ramp before if they haven't been in a therapeutic riding program.
How many of your riders use wheelchairs?
Probably just a couple right now. So we see about 50 or 55 participants a week, and maybe 2 of those use a wheelchair as a regular part of their lives. We have several more who use walkers or crutches or something like that. And we have some who walk independently, but their balance is not great.
And they can balance on the horse?
And they balance on the horse sometimes better. We have one gentleman who's had a TBI, and he had ridden a traumatic brain injury. Sorry.
Okay. But that was lay people.
So he had a traumatic brain injury in some sort of auto accident many years ago. But when he was a teenager, he rode. And his balance varies day to day. But again, he's walking around in the community. But his balance is not quite right. And you can tell his balance is not quite right. His balance is usually better on the horse than it is on the ground.
So when he has the balance that's better on the horse, how long does that last when he's, afterwards?
So don't totally know the
Yeah,
answer to
yeah,
that
but
because
have
that
that-
requires some feedback
Yeah.
from the caregivers, and he lives in
Yeah.
a group home situation.
But
But
obviously,
he walks away looking better than when he came in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really, his case is particularly amazing because he rode competitively as a teenager. Then he had his
Oh.
accident. Now it's been 20 years or whatever it's been.
Oh, so that's
But that
so
muscle
nice.
memory is still
Yeah.
there. The first time he got on the horse, it was all there.
Yeah.
His body knew what to do, even though
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And what a gift for him.
It really
'Cause this
has
is something
been.
that he used to do, and now he
Yes.
gets the opportunity to do it again.
Mhm.
Wow, what a gift you're giving them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's a lot of fun to have around.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet. Wow, that is so interesting. So you started saying about some of the programs that you have.
Right.
Can you tell us some of the other programs?
Sure. So our primary program is adaptive riding or therapeutic riding. We also have a number of people who come for equine facilitated learning. So that's where they're working with the horses on the ground. That is a really great option for school groups, community groups, people who are just wanting to come out and maybe have a one-time experience with the horse or maybe once a month. We work with some assisted living homes. We actually take the horses to them in Bethesda or wherever.
Really?
Yes. So we are available. We drive into Bethesda with 2 horses in the trailer
And
to their assisted living home.
do they get on the horse? Like
No. So if we're taking horses there, it all happens on the ground. So they are brushing the horses, learning about parts of
Oh,
the
I
horse.
see.
And it's a great conversation starter. A lot of these people have some memory issues, and most of them had an experience with horses when they were younger.
Oh, I see.
It was a time when many people still had horses at home.
Wow, I can't believe that you actually bring the horses to the assisted
it's-
living facility. That's
It's
fantastic.
amazing. It's motivating. They see people who agree to come outside and meet the horses who normally won't leave their rooms. People who are asking, when are the
Yeah.
horses coming back? They come out and talk to you when maybe they don't talk very much on a regular basis. We saw a woman who'd had a stroke and was not using one arm. And someone wheeled her wheelchair up the wrong way so that her arm
Yeah.
that she didn't like to use was next to the horse. And she just reached right up and started petting.
Wow.
And she did not, it was very difficult for her, and she did not use that arm
Wow, that's
in day-to-day
amazing.
life. And and they didn't even know she could because she'd never done
Wow.
that before.
That is so amazing. That's really so cool. So I want to hear more about all this, but we're going to just take a short break. So stay tuned. We're watching Happy and Healthy. I'm Nira Berry, your host. So stay tuned for more.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does.
And like that, you're a job creator.
Hi, welcome back to Happy and Healthy. I'm Nira Berry, your host, and we're going to continue our conversation with Rachel Neff, who's director of Great and Small. And you were telling us about this, what did you call it? Equine therapy? Or?
Yeah, equine facilitated learning.
Okay.
And that's interactions with the horse on the ground, so nobody's riding. And one of our big programs with that is taking horses to visit seniors in their assisted living facilities, wherever that may be.
Yeah.
So, we have several in Bethesda, for example. And we started out actually partnering with a home, and they were bringing their residents to us. But the travel was so hard on the participants, but that by the time they got to us, they were tired.
Yeah.
They were ready for a nap. So some of them benefited from it, but it was really difficult. So we said, let's try bringing the horse to you. So we're in residential Bethesda with horses,
That's
and now we're trying
amazing.
in different locations. Yeah,
That's
so
really amazing.
And it's been, we worked with one organization that was they're working on their depression scores. Many people who live in assisted living have some degree of depression, and they did before and after surveys, and their depression scores fell. That people's mood was much better after they'd interacted with the horse, even though it was a one-time 30 or 45-minute experience.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it's, first of all, it's very stimulating to see an animal, but especially
Yes.
like a horse. And if anybody has any memories from their childhood, if they had, horse experiences of riding, I bet you that just is elevating.
It absolutely is, yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic that you actually bring
Bring the horses to them, yes.
Yeah, what a great idea. It sounds so simple, but when you think you have to get to that, that's wonderful.
Because our farm is all the way out in Boyds near Germantown. So, and that's where the land is to keep a horse. So it's not like we can really move further in, but that's one way that we can help add more access to people who live down county and don't necessarily have transportation.
And
putting
don't get
horses
to
on the
see
trailer.
animals,
Exactly.
probably don't even see that much green grass, so it's always wonderful. And all animals have amazing energy.
Absolutely.
That's it's very, very therapeutic, I'm sure. So so you have other programs as well?
Yeah, so we have mental health professionals who are doing equine-facilitated psychotherapy. So that is mental health treatment, incorporating the horse. Again, they're not riding, they are working with the horse and using that experience to work on people's mental health goals. So the horse can be a really good mirror of your own energy because they're herd animals and they are so attuned to body language. If you walk in angry at the world, even if you don't consciously know that that's what you're presenting, the horse is going to be like over there, not interested in coming to talk to the scary, angry person. And so that gives them a conversation to talk about, like, check in, what's your body actually doing? What can we do to change that? And as you change, the horse's response to you changes.
Yeah, because
so you get that instant feedback.
Yeah, because if you change the way you're holding your body, I've read that actually changes the way you're feeling.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And the horses can read that.
Yes, the horses read that. Absolutely. That's what keeps them alive in the wild, is being able to read body language.
And what do you call that again?
Equine-facilitated psychotherapy.
Okay. And what's another program that you have?
So we currently are on hiatus, but coming back soon. We'll have what's called Hippo Therapy, which is either physical therapy, occupational therapy, or speech therapy, taking place using the horse's movement as part of the treatment strategy.
That's amazing.
Yes.
How does that happen? How does that work?
So we've been working with a speech pathologist right now. She's on maternity leave. That's why I said we're on hiatus, but hopefully coming back. And she would put her clients would get on the horse, but they're not learning to ride. They're getting on the horse and they're experiencing the horse's movement as oftentimes a method of sensory regulation. So the experience of the horse moving through space can be very organizing for someone who has sensory challenges. For example, like people with autism often have sensory challenges. And so they'd get on, they get their sensory needs met, and then they'd work on the same speech activities that they would work on in a clinic setting, except it's more effective because you've solved the sensory piece or you're meeting the sensory needs. So the brain can stop trying to figure out the sensory piece and focus on something else.
Wow.
So my favorite story from that is she had a client who would walk in not making eye contact, who's in elementary school, I think, and maybe giving one-word answers to questions, but really not that interested in interacting with people. Get on the horse, and for the first 15 minutes they wouldn't talk. They'd just walk, and he'd just get his sensory needs met, walking around on the horse. Then they'd do their speech therapy for 30 minutes, and he would walk out the door having a conversation with his mother.
Wow.
And they said it lasted a couple days.
Wow.
That meeting his vestibular sensory needs was so key to him being able to do anything else. When you're so busy processing too much information or not enough information, you can't think about anything else. Like, if you've ever been to a concert that's too loud or the lights are too bright and you can't do anything else because you're overwhelmed, that's how many people with autism walk around the world. The bird chirping is too loud and the sun is too bright and they can't deal with anything else because they're so overwhelmed.
So that's, some of the things that you mentioned sound almost so obvious to be helpful, but we don't think about it on a regular basis, that so many different people can benefit from it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's riding a horse is good for you. pretty much regardless of who you
Yeah.
are. There are some conditions that are not compatible with riding, but it's a pretty short list.
Yeah, because if you don't need adaptive riding or therapeutic riding, just by riding alone, you really have to put all your focus into that and to really become one with the horse and your riding.
Yeah,
So that
absolutely.
really focuses you in and that really brings on relaxation and helps your brain function better
Exactly.
and clearer. Yeah, I know. I've read about that. Some people have many misconceptions about this kind of therapy or therapeutic, or adaptive training. What are some of the misconceptions that you can think of?
So a popular misconception is that it's a pony ride, and it's absolutely not just a pony ride. Like, we are working on goals. We are.
And these are big horses. They're
They
not
are
like-
horses of all sizes,
Yeah.
but pony ride often gets thought of like what might happen at the zoo or a carnival or something. where you
birthday
just-
party.
Yeah, you get on, you walk around, you get off again.
Yeah.
And we are working with the participant, their family, our instructor. The whole team is coming up with what are our goals? What are you looking to get out of this activity? How can we incorporate your life goals into this riding situation where it's fun and doesn't feel like drilling? So it really is a team approach. It's an educational model. It's not just, well, we've been entertained for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. So if and I imagine like maybe some people that this was suggested to them, that maybe they had some fears surrounding it. Like, what would you say to them?
So we always encourage people to come for a tour before they move any further. That way you
That's a
can
good idea.
come
Yeah.
see the facility, meet an instructor, meet some horses in the barn in a no pressure environment. If it doesn't work for you, then that's fine, because we're definitely looking for it to be a win for everybody. And there are people who are just irrationally afraid of horses, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And for them, there are many other activities that would be great.
Yeah.
For most people, they come out and that gives them a chance to get over like the anxiety of being in a new place or meeting new people. That tour kind of takes care of some of that. And then they'd come back for an evaluation, which is a chance for them to ride, have the experience, and again, see, did I like it? Do I feel like this could meet my needs? Before they commit to riding for a block of lessons.
And I assume like they get to maybe brush the horse or have a little bit of
Yeah.
interaction with the horse.
It
Is that the first
depends
things they do?
on their needs. So if we've got a young child with autism and a lot of sensory needs, we might get on first, because as soon as the horse starts walking and they have that sensory experience, they are sold. And then once their sensory needs have met, then maybe we'll brush afterward. For other people, they need the moment of grounding, of brushing the horse, of like just getting centered and in the space before riding is the right answer
Yeah.
for them. So we work that in different ways, and everything is being tailored to that person and what they need right there.
That sounds so great. And what if somebody can't come to to this kind of interaction with horses? Is there something that you could recommend that they could do at home or in any other situation?
So if coming out to the farm is a problem and they're still in the school system, oftentimes we have school groups that come out to us during the day. They have bus access during the day. So that's a way to access it if transportation at another time is not going to work. There's an option for us to bring horses to some locations, and we're certainly open to talking
Oh,
with
that's
community
great.
groups and people like that.
And I
about
know you're
those
always looking for
options.
volunteers as well.
Yes, for people who want to volunteer, if they think this sounds great but is not something that they need, we would love to have volunteers, and no previous experience is needed.
That's
So
great.
we can teach. We have people who have never touched a horse before. We have people who are professional horse trainers, and everybody in between. Everybody's welcome.
That's great. So if somebody wanted to find out more information, can you give us your website?
Sure, our website is greatandsmallride.org, and all the information on volunteering and riding and everything else is on there.
Well, that's great. So I imagine you must own your own horse.
I do. Her name is Stella, and she's actually mostly retired now, but she was a racehorse, and then she was the mascot at my college. Her job was to
Oh.
gallop around the track at football games. And then I've just been pleasure riding her for a few years.
Wow, that's wonderful. And it's so nice, to find out about all this. This is really great information that I think a lot of people could benefit from, and especially it's wonderful for the horses that they can really, keep on, doing something worthwhile. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being my guest today,
Thank you
Rachel.
for having me. It's
I
been a pleasure.
Really appreciate it. So I'm Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy. And stay tuned. We have my Good to Know segment coming up, so we'll be right back. Hi, I'm Nira Berry, health and happiness coach and your host of Happy and Healthy. And now it's time for What's Good to Know. And What's Good to Know is part of my series on success at life and at work. And I'm going to speak to you about developing your confidence and your self-esteem. And very often you think, well, why do people have low self-esteem to begin with? And because we're not born with low self-esteem, but it just kind of happens to us whether or not we get inundated with criticism from other people, or maybe at work somebody doesn't mean to harm us in any way, but may give us some kind of critique in a way. And very often the worst kind of criticism is our own inner critic, where we really are very hard on ourselves. And so, you've heard the saying that low self-esteem is like driving through life with a handbrake on. And it's really true, because you're really missing out on many of the good feelings in life and true happiness, because you're afraid of really letting go and really experiencing everything. And this is something that we can really overcome. And so how do you boost your self-esteem, you may ask? And I can say, well, you could start with doing what you're worried about. Like for instance, somebody that may not be hungry, if you give them a little bit to eat, that kind of gets their appetite going. And that's why it's called an appetizer. So the best way to develop your confidence is do what you fear. Just do a little bit at a time, and you'll see that it really kind of boosts your self-esteem. And you'll feel that it may raise it up. And the more that you do it, the better you feel about yourself, and the happier you'll feel in life. So I challenge you to get out of your comfort zone and just face your fears head on, and you'll see that your confidence will soar. So let me know how that works for you. I'm Nira, I'm the happiness coach, and you can reach me at info@niraberry.com. So thanks for watching Happy and Healthy. I'm Nira Berry, your host, and I hope you have a happy day.